Okay, so welcome everyone everywhere to another installment of the Elite Thinking Club. I am Jules, Julien, and I'm joined tonight with my co-hosts Liz Barker and Michael Houchen. Guys, all right?
Hey.
Hello, you right?
Yeah, so
Good.
couldn't wait, right? Couldn't wait. This is important. The King's coronation is a big deal here in the UK right now. Okay, it's massive. Everyone's talking about it, and there's obviously two sides to this. One side being that some people completely disagree with it and think it's overrated and there's no point. What is the point? Why do we even have this still happening now? And there are those who absolutely love it. They see some need for it, like it's such a big deal. So there's obviously two sides to this, two sides, two views, two perspectives. So we at the Elite Thinking Club are doing this episode on it. Welcome everyone everywhere in the comments on the TikTok. I see you. Feel free to comment exactly how you feel about the King's coronation, and don't be afraid as well. Like, freedom of speech is a right, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Freedom of speech is a right. Okay, so first off, Liz, like King's coronation, you excited about it? You happy about it? You liked it?
I was neither excited nor happy. I was kind of neutral. I'm not a royalist. I did love Diana, so obviously this was a little bit for me. But I have apathy for those who wanted to enjoy it, wanted to celebrate it, and wanted to watch it. That's their choice, and we can't take that away. That's freedom of choice. But I personally would rather have watched paint dry. And I find it hard because the cost of it was what, 250 million estimated. Yeah. So, and you think of the people that are currently struggling with the cost of living crisis. Not only that, they're the people that are living in poverty and having to use food banks. That money would have done and had a detrimental effect, positive effect on food banks. And even sorting out potholes in the road. Like, there's so much that needs to be done. I think that money could have been better spent on, but it is a tradition. To some people, it is part of the British history for some people, for a lot of people. And I understand that element of it, but I don't personally rejoice it, celebrate it, or contribute to it. So that's my take on it.
Okay. Michael, the King's coronation.
So yeah, before it happened, I didn't really care too much about it, and I was like, not really into it. But we had to have it on at work, and I got a little bit into it.
Okay.
And then I realised, like, I was walking around waving a flag, and I realised I'm a bit more into it than I thought I was, because we've always had a monarchy, and although people might not agree with it, it's just tradition. And if we go like the cost that you said, yes, it might have cost 250 million. But if you look at the long end of it, like even that day, you think how many people turn up to it and how much money they're going to spend in shops in London.
Yeah.
So local businesses.
Have your microphone a little bit closer, Mike, so people at the back can hear, because you're making some good valid points.
I'll just turn it up.
Oh, there we go.
So yeah, so all the shops around would have prospered from it. And the actual royal family, like the Buckingham Palace, brings in so much tourism that most of it offsets how much they cost.
Well, you say that, but there have been some experts that have actually looked into that, because that's normally the main argument that people use, is the tourism and that how much money they bring in. But actually, there are some experts that looked into it, and they don't bring as much in with regards to the balance of what they cost. So we're always led to believe that they benefit. It's a benefit to us to have them, which of course it benefits them to lead us to believe that. But yeah, there's no doubt about it that a lot of tourism is, a lot of tourists are drawn into the country because of the royal family and the landmark places associated with them, and the historic side of it. But yeah, they do cost a lot.
All right, so shout out to some of the viewers, right? Shout out to some of the viewers. We got Sim Simer there, and basically saying Michael has Michael is making much sense, which is cool. Ethnic Dreams is saying tourism or trollism. Not exactly sure what you mean on that. If you could elaborate a little bit more on that, Ethnic Dreams, that'd be awesome. And Tammy, evening, good evening, good to see you. Welcome to the podcast. And yeah, so Liz, Michael, you both highlighted a couple things there. You both actually agreed on. One was history, tradition, and but the the point now is tourism. So having all that tradition and all that history has brought a quite a lot of tourism over the years. Let's agree on that point, because if we're talking not just about the King's coronation as one event, let's talk about the royal family as a whole. They do tend to bring quite a lot of tourism to the country, which is fair to say, is it? It's fair to say. However, I
In
do
2017,
I do understand what you're highlighting is at the amount that it costs to host the event could have been spent on other things. And I suppose that's where most people get their backs up with it, because there are those who, although do see where you're coming from, Michael, and where you're coming from, Liz, about history and tradition and all those things, most people are not in a position right now where they can really justify it. They just are not living the same lifestyle as others who see it as such a great celebration. And now it's at the point where I suppose the argument is it doesn't directly affect me. There are other things that they could do with their power that could directly affect me. Michael, sorry, what was you going to say there?
well, I was just looking at in 2017. Apparently, they brought in 1.7 billion pounds. So they were responsible, the royals, for bringing in 1.7 billion. Their shop apparently in a single year, their royal collection shop makes nearly 20 million pound a year.
And how much does it cost to keep them, to feed them, to house them, to chauffeur them, to medicate them, to bodyguard them, to pay for their electricity bills, to pay for all of their transportation, private jets, etc., etc.
Okay.
It's hard to pay that. I'm going to
annually between 345 and 431 million.
Yeah.
But that
Ethnic
one
Dream
thing, that 20 million is just their shop. Just their shop brings in 20 million.
Ethnic Dream says the argument of tourism is beyond a joke now, especially when we're one of the richest countries. And we have a rise in poverty, food banks, economic decline, and hunger.
Yes.
White flour. So many families could have been helped with that money, is what we're saying here from Malta. Okay. Well, welcome from Malta. Good to see you on the podcast. Please say hi to Wayne. Hi, Wayne.
Hi, Wayne.
That is not solely borne by the taxpayer. People are struggling. It's so scary. Always, why is she saying, yeah, he just said they brought in 1.8 billion and it cost millions to host. That is very true, Sim. And this is all about unbiased view here at the Elite Thinking Club. We literally explore topics just to get a better, well-rounded view. Without conversation from different points of view, we will never, ever be able to see different points of view. We'll always have our own fixed mind, which, is, I will put my hands up and say, sometimes I'm so adamant about my point of view. I believe it so strongly. I've got deep conviction with it regards to so many different things, that sometimes all it takes is for someone from a different perspective just to say something that helps me actually see a little bit better. I wanted to highlight something, and I want you and Michael, Liz and Michael, both to go in on this one, right? Is the general frustration with most of the British public, where we see politicians and the royal family as the same thing?
Possibly. I mean, they're interlinked, aren't they? But
because I don't believe the royal family have any part to play in politics.
You're kind of right on that.
I don't see them in the House of Parliament passing laws. I don't see them in the House of Parliament doing. I don't see them in the House of Parliament. No, I just see them as a family, and as history has given them the birthright to take the throne, I suppose, keep up the upkeep of the image. Most of them probably didn't even want it. They probably wouldn't want to be born into it. but they do what they do because it's what they're born into. However, most of the British public are not frustrated at the royal family directly. They're more frustrated with the way the country's being run, but they blur the lines between the two. So it kind of gives them an opportunity to take out their frustration on the royal family, when really it isn't the royal family that you should be upset with. It's
I do think there's other elements to it. I do feel sorry for them, actually, when, like what you just said, that they're born into it, because they are born into huge privilege, but they're also born into huge pressure. And from day one, they're trained to live that life and to be that representation of that tradition. And that I would never, ever want that on my shoulders. I couldn't think of anything worse.
I'm going to go in on what you just said there, Liz, actually, in a bit more. Keep going.
Yeah, I think also there's other elements to it, like you said, the sort of interlinking with the Parliament and people's frustration. But I also think that there's been so much controversy around the royal family. And I think that in modern day society, they've become almost celebrity or celebrified, if that's a word. And I think that a lot of the negative issues that have gone on and corruption within the family, for example, such as the links with Jimmy Savile that King Charles had, and the famous quote that a man is as good as the company he keeps, etc. There's a lot of people that don't forget that, and don't forget how involved he was with the royal family or affiliated. Also the likes of Prince Andrew and his links with Epstein. That is a massive, huge thing that we haven't really had full transparency on the law case, that the court case, and the names on the list. So I think there's so many elements that and frustrations that people have, and obviously the whole Meghan and Harry issue, and how she's been treated, and also him with his book and what he's been saying and all of that. So I think that we look at, certainly our generation looks at the royal family differently to older generations do. And that's why I have apathy for people, because I understand it's different, isn't it, in different times. So my point that I was trying to get to was that I don't think it's just the Parliament and frustration link with the royal family and the power thing. I think there's lots of elements to it, and also not forgetting the whole Diana debacle and the fact that she lost her life and everything that happened there. I think there's lots of different, especially around King Charles and Camilla. So
what you're saying is, Liz, is they have a damage to their reputation. They're trying to upkeep and uphold all of these symbolic traditions and almost a squeaky clean image, when in actual fact, we as the British public know damn well that they are not
extremely
there's a lot
extremely dysfunctional family. And also it's the corruption side and the involvement with these very deeply awful people who have hurt and others have suffered at the hands of. And I think that has a huge effect on their reputation and respect.
I'm very, very glad that you mentioned that, Liz, because again, when you are so caught up in the here and now, you do tend to forget about the past. And that past that you mentioned about all of them things is so important as to why a lot of people will not support the coronation, will not go out and wave the flag, and because they're actually ashamed. They're actually embarrassed. How could you clap for a family who has a known paedophile within it? How could you clap for a family who has links with pedophiles? Why would you clap for a family? Why would you stand up for a family who I know it's a conspiracy, but a lot of evidence does link to where the dysfunction of that family caused a death to a nation's idol, a nation's sweetheart. You had one person within that family, not by blood, but by marriage, who actually the people loved, who Princess Diana, and then then you go and kill her off. Like, why would I even support you? Why would I even turn up to your coronation? Why? And I get that. I do actually get that. So that's well said. I appreciate that.
I'm very much, each to their own, and live and let live. I don't know them personally. I only know what I know from what I've seen, heard, read, and learned myself. And you know what we've all sort of learned over the years of all these different dysfunctions and stories. So, you know, I'm sure that they, you know, have great things about them, and it's great that people want to celebrate that and want to participate and in something historic, which it was. But I personally don't respect or love and, you know, rejoice. I'm not a royalist. But
Michael, what's your take on it?
I personally think we should have bypassed Charles and went straight to William, and let William take the throne instead, because he's got a much better
reputation.
Yeah, reputation. And then also if it skips it, he's not. So there's no worry about being friends with any rings. And then I think that would have been, he would have got a better perception for it. And also, a younger king would be better.
Yeah.
So then, like, a lot of people have said we're not going to see another one. Like, how old is he? Like 80, 90 or something?
Nearly 80, isn't he? I think.
Yeah. So chances are, I mean, I'm 40. I'm probably going to see another one in my lifetime. Yet people are saying people won't see it again. Well, you will.
Yeah.
Because it'll be gone in like 20 years and then we'll have to do it again.
I have said it on a previous episode, and I still stand by it now. I do truly believe in a king to rule or a queen to rule, and they make the decisions. They have advisors. But I just think we should rid of politicians. I believe a lot of the public's frustration is through the decisions of politicians, bickering and arguing over things, and then also obviously backhanded deals to their own interests and have their own agendas. You know, if they can maneuver their way around the house, they're all just literally lining each other's pockets and passing laws that serve them, but not the people. Whereas a king or queen, you know, I believe that they should have the love of the people, which they can truly have. Because something that a lot of people don't know is that King Charles now has been looking a lot at what he has inherited, and he has addressed that the establishment, the monarchy, the house that he now runs was built on a lot of, should I say, shady, almost embarrassing history. I mean, let's just highlight it straight. Slavery, you know, we can say that. And he knows that. They're not idiots. And they also know that the people know that. I hope that, you know, most people agree that anybody who has had education, anybody who has a brain, a mind to think and isn't ignorant, they're not ignorant, to be in the positions they are, they are probably a lot more well-rounded with perspective of the world than we are in our general lives, because our general lives consist of what goes on in our lives, whereas their jobs is to actually go and visit other countries. Yeah, their jobs is to actually keep their ears to the, you know what I'm talking about. And if he can acknowledge that, which he has, by the way, publicly, right, and is you know, actively trying to make change, I see it as a good thing. But you're right, Michael. I agree with you. Like, a younger king would be better suited, simply because, again, generational. There's no generation gap.
Yeah, I do agree. Though we should have our monarchy being in charge again. It's because the problem is, once you get too many people doing stuff, they're all trying to get that little bit of paper.
It's been a long time, though, since they have historically been in charge, because a lot of it is Parliament, you know. And I think that's where, Jules, you're kind of on the money with people's frustrations, because they understand that. And then people, a lot of people that I sort of chatted to over the weekend said that they see them as pointless because of the lack of leadership and power like that we used to have historically. I mean, if you look back to like the likes of, and I'm going way back to like Henry VIII, I mean, if you annoyed him,
Kingsway or the highway. Yeah, Kingsway or the highway. And
exactly.
Although he was surrounded in court by a lot of treacherous people, he hold his own. He had to
Yes.
stand his own. He
Yeah.
had to be that empowering leader that we needed, regardless of whether or not. See, I could make a mistake. I can make a mistake, but I know that I have you and Michael to straighten me. If made, you know, I trust you. It's one of those ones where I keep my friends very close. In a court, obviously, your enemies are everywhere. They will manipulate others. They will always try and sway the crowd. But if you are surrounded by the right people, chances are you will make the right decisions. And even if you make the wrong ones, it is because you are surrounded by the right people. You can at least admit it. You can say that was on me. What these politicians tend to do is constantly pass the buck, constantly not take accountability for some of the decisions that they make. And that's where the British public are frustrated. Now, to take it out on the king is where I'm on. I'm like, we really shouldn't be throwing all of our frustration in the wrong direction as a people. But I also stand where you said, Liz, about let's not forget that this family is in essence a dysfunctional family. You know, they're not as squeaky clean as we all want to believe.
I think a lot of people lost any sort of respect and love for Charles after the whole Diana and Camilla, the whole affair thing came out. That was when Diana was still alive, prior to obviously what happened to her. So I think a lot of people, even then, when that happened, because of the love for her and the whole situation with the affair, a lot of people were like, not my king. And that he wasn't even, you know, then it wasn't, Queen Elizabeth was still alive. But so yeah, I think that we have them, don't we? So we kind of got to just get on with it. And I think some people just feel like they're pointless because they have to put up with them and they don't really want them. But then there's people who love them. So
yeah, I totally understand. And that is actually what it is actually about. So for example, well, actually not for example, let's just have it out. All the viewers watching right now, put in the comments whether you are for still having a king and a queen and a monarchy, or you just believe that they are pointless. What is the point in them even being there? Why are these people self-elected? Why are these people in a position where they can spend 250 million on a crowning, on a celebration, when it could have been used for better? But if you look, excuse me, I don't want to get into politics because I'm not going to get into politics, but 250 million really isn't a lot of money. It really isn't a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, concerning, again, the frustrations between the politicians and what they choose to spend the money on, and then taxpayer, you know, and using 250 million of taxpayers' money for the coronation. I no doubt that there are millionaires in this country who would all probably chip in to cough that money up. They could probably, you know, if we got 50 millionaires in this country and they all donated, my maths is rubbish. Oh, Jules, why are you doing this to yourself? And they all donated like, I don't know, 2.5 million each, and there's 10 of them. They've done it. They could be Charles's best mates, you know. It is what it is. So we talked about tourism. We talked about addressing slavery. We talked about the monarchy. We talked about whether they're pointless or not. Comments, hit the comments, let us know. I want to talk about religion. Okay, now everyone has a right. This is actually leading somewhere, so stay tuned because we are going to get there in the end. But the right to not agree with using religion as a reason to do this big deal, because it really shouldn't, whether you believe it or not, that is in essence what the whole ceremony boils down to. Do you agree?
well, yes, it's
I thought it was just tradition.
yeah, it's a traditional sort of ritual, sort of. It is religion. Yes.
Think about why it's happening. Yeah, think about what it is that why it has to why, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why is it in a set location? Why is it so religion?
Canterbury and all of that. Yeah.
So many people involved that really it's like, you know, I mean, that's what it all really does boil down to. Now, there are those, and many of those, who just do not believe in the same religion. They cannot agree, and it's a little bit controversial. So, you know, if we took religion away from it, you guys would be more comfortable with it?
Well, like I said, I didn't even know it was about religion, so
I don't really think that the religion side affects my opinion and feeling towards them. I think it's more the elements that I said. So
okay, so we have nothing to do with religion, right? It has nothing to do with religion. It's okay if you
not
if you
I personally
I
didn't
mean,
see
I'm
it.
not overly religious, but not I'm not overly religious, and I'm not overly a royalist. So
Yeah.
not really for me.
Okay, it's just funny how it would go down if religion wasn't involved. That's all I'm saying. If you think about it. How would the whole ceremony actually happen without religion? Just think about it for a moment.
Well, I think
Yeah, see, I thought they were just following the tradition of how it used to go. I didn't know it was like under a religious set.
That's fine. And I'm not here to trigger anybody. And if I have, I apologize. But always remember, a trigger is simply not from me to you. It's something that you're trying to process inside. It's triggered you. So it's not a me, it's a you problem. But here at the Elite Thinking Club, that is all we are literally elite thinking. We are thinking. So allow yourself to think. And thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. So the right to religion. So I'm going to say something that's quite well known by now. A lot of people protest at the coronation. There was this "Not My King" protests, and there was a lot of arrests as well. 52 arrests of the organizers of this protest. This has sparked a lot of people, in a sense that it begins now. They're taking away our right to protest. Liz, Michael, you know what I'm saying, don't you? Have you heard about these protests? Do you know about arrests? Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, you?
No, I personally didn't look into any of it.
Okay. So, Liz, what do you know about these arrests or this protest?
They were people who went along and they had banners saying "Not My King," and they wanted to protest against the coronation and also the cost of it, and basically to do with the links of the Prince Andrew, Jimmy Savile, all of that. So there were a lot of people who wanted to protest and say that they weren't for the royal family, and that's their choice and opinion, which they have absolutely every right to. They also have the right to protest. We should never, ever, ever lose our right to protest. We lose our right to protest, we lose our right to freedom of speech. It's as simple as that. It's part of freedom of speech. Is to protest and say what you feel and say what you want to say and say your opinion. And they were arrested, which I think the Met Police have been getting a lot of flack for. And there's a lot of aftermath and backfire, because at no point should we ever be arrested for protesting. It's our God-given right. So Met Police.
What were they arrested for? You can't just arrest someone and say, right, you're not allowed to protest.
They were arrested for, I believe, the breach of peace, and because of the event. So the Met Police basically wanted to scooch them along and get them out of the way, and so that's what they did. But you know, if you're peacefully protesting, you are not breaching the peace, and if you're peacefully protesting, you have every right to stand and peacefully protest.
I do believe everyone has.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I do believe everyone has a right to voice their opinion and have their opinion and all of that. However, it's a bit, you know, in a sense that, you know, you picked a very, I know there's no other time for it, but it was like, there's other ways to go about this. Like you are, it's a difficult one. This is why Elite Thinking Club, we talk about this. It's like both sides to the story.
Yeah. It was always going to be, it was always going to get attention.
If you loved something, Liz, I would defend you.
Yeah, it was always going to get attention because it's a big event. That's why they went.
Michael,
because
if it was your birthday, Michael, and we were having a big party and we're spending 250 million on it, right? And someone tried to get in and I'm at the door, not my friend. I don't give a fuck if he's your friend. He's my friend. Well, fuck off. You know what I mean? That's how I would.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, like Liz said, I may not agree with what they're doing, but I fully support peaceful protesting.
Yeah.
As soon as it turns violent, I'm out.
Yeah.
Because
Same. Absolutely. But we should never lose our right to have our say, because the second we lose our right to have our voice, we're done for. We should never ever lose that.
Has this actually come into law? Is there a law passed saying that it is illegal to protest?
They're
no,
trying.
because they dress it up with something else, so
Yeah.
it'll be, like she said, breaching the peace or something like that.
Yeah.
So it won't be you can't protest. It'll be you making too much noise, or you're swearing, or
You're being a
doing this or doing
nuisance, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, so they're kind of using that political jargon, clever wordplay, to make you look at, it's almost like gaslighting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they gaslight the people and then, you know, arrest them.
And we
It's
should
quite a
stand
shame.
against that, because if you don't, gaslighting turns into further bullying and abuse of powers, and we don't want that.
Yeah, again, that's what I was saying. That it isn't the frustration you have with the king. It may be the frustration countries being run. If you have a direct frustration that the royal family are a dysfunctional family and, you know, they're having a 250 million celebration that you don't agree with, you know, it's like someone turning up to your nan's 60th and then stamping all over a birthday cake. You're not going to really like that. You know what I mean? Whether you know, you know, for all I know, you could come from a dysfunctional family. There's plenty of Jeremy Kyles out there. Right.
I mean, that's what makes them more relatable.
Relatable.
The fact that they're not so perfect.
I think it's great that the people can relate to the fact that there's like sibling rivalry, and there's, you know, there's arguments between
dodgy uncles
and stuff. But I think that it draws a line when, you know, you think, oh well, like my dad wasn't ever really friends with the likes of Jimmy Savile, and my uncle wasn't really going out chasing teenagers around and stuff, you know. So it's like, I think because they are seen as this regal historic figures that are leading our country and representing Great Britain, I think when there's so much controversial behavior and dysfunction, I think sometimes people will get to the point where they're like, what's the bloody point in all of this? This is ridiculous now, you know. And I think the whole Diana thing was a massive controversy and tragedy surrounding that family, and obviously Diana's family. And I think that truly had a massive impact on generations above me and my generation, on their view on the royal family. I think that actually changed the way we looked at the royal family. I think that had a huge significant effect on how people viewed them. That whole Diana thing, you know.
I'm not going to sit here and act like this is a podcast to support the royal family. I'm not going to sit here and defend them. That is not what I'm here to do. At the elite thinker. I will highlight something with a metaphor. You've been to a restaurant before, Michael, Liz, viewers?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a good one you like a lot, one you'd go back to? Yeah, because they give you a good time in the past. In actual fact, they've been consistent for years. But one time they may have served you wrongly. One time they may have given you a dish that you just couldn't believe. You had to go home and tell all your friends. The chances of someone giving a positive review on Google or whatever you give reviews on you have to be phenomenal. You have to be squeaky clean. You have to make that individual or person feel like they want to give you a good review. However, you messed up one time, right? Whether we agree or not, you're more likely to leave a bad review. You're more likely to put a negative review. And the same thing applies, because we've already highlighted that the royal family are not the politicians. And Charles is very aware of how the monarchy has been created with all of the past atrocities of history, which, by the way, no one alive today is responsible for. Okay, so we always highlight that here at the Elite Thinking Club. No one alive today is responsible for slavery. It's impossible. Everyone that was back then
not
is
in the
dead.
UK anyway.
Well, okay, I understand, but the atrocities that have happened in the past, like Hitler's reign with the Nazis, no one alive today is responsible for that. Everyone that was there at the time is dead. So to hold anyone now accountable for it is is absurd. You can't, you shouldn't, because they're not alive. And same thing, same. So what I'm highlighting is, I believe the royal family are like the restaurant. And a lot of people are very, very good at pointing at all the bad, but it doesn't, like, let's say, for example, someone does something bad, and it had nothing to do with you, nothing at all. And you want to do nothing but good. Like, what can you do now if other people are holding you accountable for someone else's bad?
Oh, I get that. I totally get that.
Saying?
But I think, yeah, I get what you're saying with regards to, yeah, when a lot of people bring up the historic sort of background of the royal family. Yeah. But my personal view on and opinion on them did change with the whole Diana situ. So, and also just, just a lot of the sort of links to all these other individuals that have done very bad things, and it's come to light. So
before sorry, so cut you in, Liz. I just want to say,
That's all right.
before I read out some of these viewers' comments, which, by the way, guys, very, very grateful for. Liz, Michael, after this quick podcast episode, are you for royal family or are you not for the royal family? I know it's direct.
I'm for.
Yeah,
I'm for
Michael,
the royal
you're for?
family, but
What
I just wish, like I said, they had jumped past Charles and went to William.
You would much rather see William. Charles should have just, yeah, no problem. And Liz?
I think that you probably expect me to say I'm against them, but I'm neither for them nor against them. I'm Switzerland. I'm just not bothered. Do you know, if I didn't hear anything about them again, it wouldn't bother me. If I hear stuff about them and people discuss them, it doesn't bother me. I think because I don't have the respect, you know, I used to look at them when I was younger, a child, and I used to think, wow, we have a royal family. That's amazing. And I absolutely loved Diana. I felt like she was the people's princess. She oozed warmth, and she was the only one that came across to me over the screen as sort of human, like relatable. You know, you could see her vulnerabilities, you could see her kindness, and so and because she rebelled against it.
He wasn't so disconnected, or
yeah,
you know,
and she rebelled against, and it was her humanity. It was her humanity that I think I was drawn to. That kind of humanized them for me. But before that, they were just kind of almost characters. They were characters, you know.
I used to call it syndrome. I remember Kanye when he first came out, he was very, very still. You could talk to Kanye. Then he got so elevated and he excelled to such a high level of thinking and status and position that he almost started saying people were finding bizarre, people were finding crazy, and I called it US syndrome, where you get so far up the chain or so in a whole different world, you forget how much it costs to buy bread from the shop.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So if I had
Diana was still very available to the everyday person. She was still there.
Yeah,
have Kanye West syndrome, whereas the royal family, you know, I understand.
She's the sort of person that she would see you and hear you, and you know, whereas I feel like they would kind of almost, you know, you're invisible to them, to the rest of them, sort of thing. But she would make you feel seen. But so in answer to your question, if I had to pick a for or against, I would say against, because then it's not my cup of tea. However, I would just say either way, I'm not bothered. So
we say where there are more Dianas in the family than there are. Hopefully
hope so.
that will reestablish
I would have a lot more respect. Yeah.
Again, I think that would have happened if William had taken over.
Yes, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to some of these viewers. We got Sav. Sign is a bit ridiculous. I agree. It is a bit ridiculous. The religious side has always been present historically. If we are to delve into religion, I see you, Khaleesi. Thank you for that comment. Let's have a look at some of these more. you can protest, but these are the consequences. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well
It's
said,
so
Khaleesi.
true. We must never
Um,
lose our right.
I like hose. Hello, we welcome to the Elite Thinking Club. Someone likes hose. We had no human rights the moment we left the EU. This is how and why they are able to these silly. Okay, Khaleesi again. Right, but public responsibilities. Okay, Sav. It sometimes turns violent when the police start to turn it that way. Yeah, I agree. I do agree. If it was Michael's birthday and we had a party going on and there were some people trying to gate crash it or ruin it for us, I'm Michael's friend. I'm going to defend it. I'll tell him to do one. You know, it's natural. It's human. So not that I'm for the police or against the police. I just understand that human on this earth, different perspectives, different point of views. And I know a large majority of our viewers on the Elite Thinking Club are us who are able to appreciate all sides. And we just want and love. Let's have another look. Okay, truth seeking, advanced and move quick with technology, but we have a dated royal family.
Good point.
Good point.
Because it's tradition.
But
and that is
just because it's tradition doesn't mean it's right?
Well, I mean, like I said, I personally like it. I personally believe, like Jules
I
said,
don't eat turkey at Christmas, if that's what you mean, Liz.
king should
Nah.
be.
Yeah, well, not every tradition doesn't always serve all, does it? You know?
If they had more power, we wouldn't be arguing it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, if they
shout out to Truth Seeker, and she said yes, Liz, she agrees with you. So
thank you. I also think if they instilled a lot more respect and hope and belief in people, then they would receive that love for them. Because without respect,
if they stayed in charge, they wouldn't have been bored and did other stuff. They would have just been on track. But because they give the power to Parliament, and now people in Parliament just want money, so they've poisoned it anyway. Like, why should someone be getting 160 grand a year for fucking doing the job that they're meant to be doing anyway? Like, if you
messing up the job. Normally, if a builder comes to your house and does a bad job, you wouldn't pay him. You would seek,
and then they invest in all these other companies,
yeah,
and then
under the
consumer, then go, let's get this to these people because it's the right thing. But no, it's really because you're getting money from it.
Yes, and back to the point about are not our politicians. If anyone is at a frustration with how the country is being run, we should not direct that at the royal family, because it is not actually them. It is, make sure that you're actually to channel your frustration to the people who should be held accountable for it. But I am with you on that, Michael. I still, to this day, believe that the country should be run by a king or a queen. Doesn't matter. And they should be the ones who make the decisions, surrounded by good advisors who they believe suit the country well. And yeah, once they make the decision, they are accountable for it. And they will also then see who turns up for their coronation and who doesn't. Because if obviously they fuck up, people aren't going to turn up. Chances are the streets would be flooded with every citizen chanting your name, singing your name, probably leaving one behind, which is, I believe, what everybody wants to see. But we will find out as time will go on. This episode, stay tuned, guys, on the TikTok. We're actually going to be rolling into another episode, part 2 of our Elite Thinking Club with Mr. Nick Shackleton-Jones, talking about AI tech and how it has created a disconnect between humans. So yeah, we'll be back on in 15 minutes and look forward to seeing you there. Me, Liz, Michael, with Nick. But before we go, Liz, Michael, is there anything else you want to say before we end this episode?
Long live our freedom.
And Michael?
I think King Charles should do something radical and get all the shit cunts in Parliament and hang them.
Oh, there's always a mic drop with Michael, isn't there? That's why you were called Mike. Mic drop.
I wonder when hanging actually got abolished, because I used to train a guy who still remembers. I can't believe it. You were,
Wow.
yeah. I used to train an old hanging Jules. He used to call me Jules. No,
Oh my gosh.
not like a good hanging. I was like, fucking it.
I'm kind of
Oh,
glad
man.
that they've got
Yeah,
rid of
I
it,
think about
because I think
five,
that
Yeah,
I could end up there with all the protesting and stuff. So
Mm.
Let me have a quick look
Thank you so
before
much
we
for tuning
end.
into tonight's episode. We appreciate you especially the and keep the comments coming. We will, in 15 minutes time, we'll be going live with Nick Shackleton doing part 2 of AI technology and how it has disconnected human connection. So we'll see you in a bit, everyone, everywhere. Peace and love.